99% of people fail to learn programming in their first year. If you feel stressed, overwhelmed, and don't know how to continue your education or to learn to be a programmer, watch this. If you are sat there right now wondering, am I in the 99% and what can I do to not fail at learning to code, then good news, because I'm going to take you through the top 5 reasons why people fail. Now, these are all things that you can change, and I'm going to show you how, and when you do, they will propel you to success like they did for me when I encountered them and the thousands of people I've mentored and helped into the industry. Point 1, when I started to learn to code, I suffered from what we called shiny spoon syndrome. I was attracted to everything new and everything cool. One second, I was looking at JavaScript tutorials, then I'd be scrolling about and I'd see a Python tutorial and it'd be like, ooh, cool, let me try that out. I thought I was moving closer and closer to my goal, but what I didn't realize is that with every new tutorial I took in a different language, I was moving further away from my goal. Think about it. If you're doing the same thing, hopping from tutorial to tutorial with no real idea of where you want to go, where do you think you're going to end up? Not having a goal makes it incredibly difficult to succeed in tech and makes it much harder to stay focused. So how do we combat this goal setting, and why is it so important? When I coach people in one-to-one sessions, one of the first things we talk about is where do you want to be in 2 years time? And if you watch other videos on my channel, it's something I talk about a lot. So let's give this a practical example. Let's say in 2 years time you decide you want to be a DevOps engineer. Now we know to succeed in DevOps you need to be good in Python and probably Bash for scripting, and there's languages like Terraform which help with infrastructure as code. So those are the tutorials and the languages you should be focusing your ideas on. You shouldn't be doing anything else. You shouldn't be chasing anything new that comes out of the bounds of them. And one great way to do this is actually write it down. I did when I wanted to be a front-end engineer. I wrote it down because it gives me something tangible to look at and it keeps you focused. It stops you hopping from tutorial to tutorial, and it's a great benefit to get you into your chosen career and field. But with that in mind, is it enough to help you succeed where others have failed to learn to code? So that takes us on to step 2. Learning anything in life, getting good at anything involves time and dedication, and the 10,000 hour rule is a prime example of that. If I were to offer you right now a job on $450,000 a year, would you take it? But the caveat is, you have to do 10,000 hours of study and you have to track every hour. You're probably saying yes right now. Who wouldn't, right? But let's play out that scenario and see how that results to us not learning how to code. The initial excitement of the 450,000 would be like, yes. And you're gonna dive headfirst into it. You're gonna be chasing every tutorial you can find. You're not gonna be bothered about this or that. 450,000, damn, give me some of that. So you get the first hour done, the first 10, the first 15, but then all of a sudden, things are getting really difficult. 10,000 hours. That's a lot of hours. Now you're struggling with rubbish resources. You don't know what to focus on. And what the hell are compile errors? So then the seed of doubt is planted in your mind. I mean, 450,000, that's too much money. Who needs that to live on? I'm humble. I'm not materialistic. Who needs that kind of money? This is the reality of how things work in real life, and we can relate that to how we learn how to code. The initial excitement of getting stuck in, writing some code, understanding what's going on is super fun. I could change the world. I'm gonna build something that's gonna make $1 million or $1 billion. It's gonna be a unicorn. But it's not that simple. You see, when the euphoria has worn off and the reality of how difficult it's gonna be to become a software engineer has settled in, that's when it's vitally important to rely on mindset. Having the right mindset is the difference between winning and losing. We see this in everyday life, in sports, when the underdog always wins. The difference between winning and losing, and the difference between learning to code and not, is having the right attitude when all you see are red lines and functions in your sleep. Remember the 10,000 hour rule we just discussed? Well, this is what's vitally important to remember when it becomes a software engineer. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a field of continuous learning, a field where you will continuously have to push yourself to succeed even when things are really tough. Now, having a goal and the right mindset will put you apart from the 99%, but there are 3 more things to get right to make sure you are firmly in the 1% of people who succeed in learning how to code. Now, point number 3. Imagine for a second you're a weightlifter and your goal is to have the heaviest squat in the world. Never mind the world, the universe. So every week on a Monday, you go into the gym, you put 200 kilos or 200 pounds on the bar and you do 1 squat. And you repeat this week after week after week after week. What's gonna happen? There's a good chance you're never gonna have the heaviest squat in the world, especially not the universe, because you're just repeating the same thing over and over again. We all know to get stronger, you either have to lift more weight or you have to do more repetitions. Learning to code is the exact same thing. You will do tutorial after tutorial after tutorial. Nothing will change in between. You will likely hop around from a different language like we mentioned in the first point. When it comes down to learning to code, it's the exact same thing, but with a laptop, not a squat bar, obviously. What is the next tutorial? You hop from one to another expecting a different result. A lot of people end up getting stuck on what we call the hamster wheel of tutorials. And at what point do you break free from that? At what point do you start to load more weight on the bar to get your progression? This is actually a huge step in people's progress from tutorial or learner to software engineer. Here are the steps I took and the steps that I implement with the people I coach and how to break free of tutorial hell. Whenever you start to watch tutorials, never just follow along with the video. Always load up your environment and start to code. Why do we do this? Because it starts to build up muscle memory in your fingers and your mind. They're writing a variable, you're writing a variable. They're declaring a function, you're declaring a function. They're creating a file. You see where I'm going with this. Once you're comfortable doing that, what you then start to do is start to change slight bits of the code. So you're following a tutorial where they create a red button, you create a blue button, find the code on how to make a blue button. They declare a function in 2 parts, you declare it in 1 part or vice versa. They write 1 unit test, you write 2 unit tests. This is enough to take you out of your comfort zone while still being able to keep up with the course and not moving too far away from it that if you make a mistake, it's going to be unforgivable and you'll never be able to figure out what it is. Now the final part to that is when you are comfortable being uncomfortable, start to build things for your own using your own initiative. Build a website, build an app, build something that solves a problem. If you can figure out something that's a problem that you're having, chances are lots of other people are having it too. Build a solution for that and you will see your growth into engineer 10 times faster. Point number 4, when I was learning to code, I had a lot of competition, just like you are all feeling now. Now I'm a senior engineer, guess what? I still have a lot of competition, but I have a superpower. That's right, I have a superpower that 99% of the people I go against in interviews do not have. Concentrating on just learning how to write code is such a small part of the equation when it comes to being a software engineer. All a programming language is at the end of the day in its simplest form is a communication tool. It's a language in which a computer speaks and we learn that language to communicate with a computer to tell it what to do. But there are other parts of being a software engineer that people really struggle with. However, I was telling you about my superpowers that 99% of other people don't have. When I go to interview, I talk a lot, not waffle. I'm concentrated to the point. I use the STAR technique: situation, task, action, result. I understand how to use the analysis and I know how to deliver a story using that technique to prove my points. That's right, my superpowers are my soft skills: communication, collaboration, teamwork, problem solving. These are things which a lot of engineers don't develop, which will see you propel your career to senior tech lead or further much quicker than actually being an amazing software engineer. But Isaac, what do you mean? You know what I mean. You go to any serious company and they'll always say to you, we can teach people how to code. We can't teach people to be human. So how do you improve those skills compared to 99% of other people? Spend time going to meetups. Learn how to think, communicate with people, and understand problem solving, A/B testing, root cause analysis. I'm not saying you have to be a CIA agent here, but having the ability to understand how to attack a problem is so big in software engineering, and lots of people don't get it right. Okay, so the 4 points we've covered so far, which will put you in the 1% and far away from the 99%, are having a clear goal so you do not get confused by shiny spoon syndrome, having the right mindset for when things get tough, knowing when to get out of your comfort zone and start tackling problems on your own. And the one we've just covered, how much more important soft skills are and problem solving skills are over writing to code. Now point number 5 is the most important. There were times in my journey on learning how to code where I was ready to give up. I'm not lying, I was ready to quit. And this was at its worst when I was actually learning with other people in a boot camp. They all seemed to learn so much quicker than me. They were picking up complex concepts, they were understanding better than I did, and they were delivering better things. Why wasn't I getting it? When I say I almost quit, I'm not joking. I felt like a failure. But what happened is as the bootcamp went on, what I realized is that those people weren't better than me. They were just better at following tutorials word for word, and they were better at finding and copying resources without any original thought of their own. My approach has always been and still is try and figure it out and then ask for help. To cut a long story short, a lot of them people are not in the industry anymore, and the ones who are, my career has gone a lot further ahead. And that's not a brag. I'm a humble person. I wish everyone success. I've helped hundreds to thousands of people into this industry. What's important to realize is that you are on your own journey, just like I was on mine. Don't compare yourself to where somebody is in theirs because you do not understand what they are doing or what they understand. The absolute worst thing you can do in this industry, especially for your mental health, is compare yourself to others. Okay, so you're almost in that 1%, but there's one more thing you need to understand. Check out this video on why I reject developers' resumes when they send them in to find out how to write a great resume, and follow because I've got a lot more coming in that department. Remember to like and subscribe.